That's a big question, Chris. My name's Michael. I'm from Australia. How I got my realisation, I suppose, is the one that I'll go for first. I used to be an athlete, and I kept getting injured a lot, and I was looking for something that was going to help me. So I thought yoga was really good because it's all traditional and had a sort of patina of magic about it. So I looked up the yellow pages, and there was this, under yoga was Sahaja Yoga meditation. It said true meditation, absolutely free. And I thought, that's what I'm really looking for. And the price is right because I was a student at the time. And so I rang them up, and it turned out as it advertised to be free. And then I went and I liked the people. I felt really good about it. Nothing struck me like a bolt of lightning or anything, but everything felt pretty good. I didn't feel anything much, but I felt really good about it all, and everything made sense. And the people were middle-aged people, but they seemed quite youthful and energetic, and they were doing new things and studying, and there was some freshness about it. And the other thing that I remember was just this feeling that I'd come home after a long time away, and it was just a very strong emotion.
Growing up, did you have a happy upbringing? Do you think that you were seeking as you were growing up, or were you just leading a fairly normal life?
I'm always curious, and I always wanted to understand things like the meaning of life, why we're here. And I didn't think that I was brought up as a Catholic, and I didn't really think that they had the answers for me. And my mum convinced me that there was God, but I didn't really feel anything when I went to church. And I remember being really, when I was growing up, I can remember my confirmation when I was about, and it struck me, everyone was celebrating and really happy about it, but I was sort of disappointed because the Archbishop turned up in his big funny hat with his golden stuff, and nothing happened. And I thought that something should really happen. So I guess I was curious in that way. And I was also fascinated by the American Indians and William Blake and his ideas. And then when I came to Sahaja Yoga and heard Shrimataji talking about those things, it really made me think, I don't know, there were so many pieces in the puzzle that Sahaja Yoga put in place. And then on my 24th birthday I had an actual experience, and that was it for me. Like, it wasn't all just a theory, and it left everything else behind.
Tell us about that experience you had on your 24th birthday. What was its nature, and how did it change you?
Well, I'd been coming for quite a while, and I do remember when I first came being disappointed in some of the people that turned up, because I didn't know what I was thinking of them, but I thought they would be like seekers, and they just didn't seem like seekers. Some people were there because their doctors had sent them there or whatever, but they sort of fell away, and the people showed a lot of interest in me. Even Uncle Alan even lent me his bike so I could ride around in the morning to meditate. So I was doing that for about 2 or 3 weeks. They were surprised that I turned up. I just thought, why would they be surprised? If I'm serious about it, I'm going to really do it. And so I just went through it, and then they played Adi Shankara's Stotras, and for some reason I just felt cool spreading out from my hands, and I just had this moment where there was no I anymore. I was just blank, nothing, and it was absolute stillness, and it sounded really weird, the music, but it was right. And then I came back, and I felt really still cool on my hands, because I started to go, I'm not thinking, and then I was thinking that I'm not thinking, and sort of tried to get back to it, but then it kind of came and went, but it just changed everything. I just felt this joy, and I thought my life is going to be different from now on. It was just that moment, and so that made up my mind.
Did you connect that experience to Shrimataji and her advent at that stage?
At the early stages I was a bit sceptical about Shrimataji, just because I had this thing about, what would you call it, personality cults, that I thought it was but yeah, at that moment, that's when I started to connect things up, and it took a bit longer for me to be willing to do namaskar and all that, or all the other aspects, because it just seemed, I suppose, cultish to me at the time. But as you start to feel more and more, and about when I saw Shimadaji and the vibrations were much stronger, that made the connection much stronger for me. It wasn't a personal connection at first. That took a bit longer, but that convinced me that I was willing to go with 90% of the other stuff, that the 10% that I was sort of a little bit awkward with, and then it all started to make sense.
Tell us about that first time that you saw Shimadaji and how it felt for you.
Okay, I think it was at the airport at Sydney, and everyone got flowers, and I think it was Kevin played Swagata Agata. I felt a bit awkward with that because I was still kind of new, and it just seemed like a bit, I don't know, over the top to me. And then she was just, I was surprised how small she was in stature, because she seemed so enormous whenever I saw her talking, and she had a smile for everyone, was accepting all the roses, just seemed really lovely person. And then there was, it took a while for me to really connect to Shimadaji, like in terms of an experience a bit like what you described. You know, you just saw her and bang, you knew. But for me, it wasn't until Delhi in 1991 at Puja when I just saw her walking on the stage, and she seemed huge. It was like an elephant walking onto stage in terms of the majesty, the slowness, the length of the foot, her stride, and everything else seemed unreal in comparison. So that for me was the moment, but that was about a year or two after I'd come along. Like I said, I was skeptical, and it took a while, but and that was Mookie Ram was singing at that puja, I remember, and I was just, I remember singing the bhajan. I was like, I'd never sung before, and I think my voice actually improved. I feel like I sang really beautifully, but it wasn't about ego or anything, it was just the feelings. And I really didn't want to look at anything else, because nothing else was real.
You mentioned 1991, so I'm assuming that was a part of the India tour that you were attending, maybe your first India tour. Can you explain a bit about why you went on the tour and what it meant to you once you did go?
Well, I suppose I wanted to really deepen my experience. I remember he just said, India tour is the way to go, because you do this Sahaja Yoga and it's really good. It's like you're swimming in a swimming pool, and then you go on India tour and it's like the bottom of the pool just opens out and it's the depth of the ocean. And they were true words. It's absolutely how it was. I couldn't believe the depth and power of the experience when I got there. I'd had to really save every penny for a year to afford to go, because I took a year off study to do it. And I think I even remember walking home about 3 miles to save myself a bus fare to afford to go, and that was like, because I really wanted to go. And when I got there, it just from the first, it worked. Couldn't believe it, how deep the meditation was, how profound the experience, how magical it seemed, and really it was nearly all happening inside, and then you perceive the outside world as like in the Gospel of Thomas, the last words are, the kingdom of heaven has always been present, but men and women have failed to perceive it, and I could perceive it, like I was there.
Those early tours were physically challenging. There were not much in the way of physical comfort, long days, long travelling, many challenges physically. Did you struggle with that at all, or did you find that you could cope without any challenge?
I didn't get sick. I dodged a bullet at Chandigarh, because all the people that went to Chandigarh, it was quite funny, because I volunteered for security at that one. Everyone had to have a turn, and everyone who went to that program came back and had gastro, and all the people that stayed back and had security had no problem at all. And I thought that was really strange and interesting, in that it was like how Shimadaji was clearing it by taking, because she said to us that the liver there and the nabi is really caught up. They're very wealthy and a little bit materialistic there, so it's like the yogis could see our part in what Shimadaji was doing, that we go there and something would happen and we'd get a bit sick, and that would help her to help the new seekers to come and to expand. And so from my point of view, I just thought, we're not just here to tag along, we're actually doing something really worthwhile and purposeful. And genuinely, like people used to say about, you get sick and you say, oh, it's a clear out, and that's the way you think of it. So if you think of it that way, then it becomes much easier to bear. But I didn't get sick until the very end, when the tour was over, and I accidentally drank some water in Mumbai, and oh gee, it was bad.
You mentioned at the start you had some challenges in relation to there being a cold and Shimadaji's presence. When did you start to recognise Shimadaji for who she really was?
I think in the talks, from the first I liked her. Just really liked her. The things she said all made sense. And just that combination of humility and confidence. But I'm trying to think. I listened to some talks that really sunk in. It was just moments and words that would make me go, or that were inspiring in some way. But then my head was very busy at the beginning, and it was kind of hard to get through that. And sometimes my ideas of what Sahaja Yoga was and is would get in the way of the actual experience of it. And it still happens, because it's, sometimes you get into meditation one way and you try it again and it doesn't work or whatever. Just the whole process, I think, of surrendering I found very difficult. And it's a lifetime process to surrender, to let go and let God work through you, manage the things around you, and not attempt to control them.
Well, that leads to the next obvious question, is if you had trouble with surrender, how did you approach the ultimate surrender, which was to put in a marriage form and allow Shimadaji to pick your wife for you, if that was the ultimate in surrender?
Well, when I heard about the marriages, that seemed quite cultish at first. But then I just thought about my own experiences with dating and stuff. And there was one of the boys who's not in Sahaja Yoga anymore said, the process is basically like this. You go dating someone for 2.5 years, you get seriously involved, and then you find out they're a lunatic. So, because there's all this sort of pretend and theatre going on. Whereas, and that's what I thought over a few days afterwards, like, that basically, I thought about my experiences and thought, well, Shimadaji is something special. She knows, why not? It seemed a better way of doing things, and also it kind of made sense because it helps to maintain the whole kind of brother-sister relationship, because people aren't constantly trying to find their mate and then having that get in the way of the way you relate to people. It seemed much freer. And I also thought, nobody's ever going to force me to do this. I'll do it when I'm ready. When I went on my first India tour, everyone was saying, oh, you should get married and this and that, and friends were saying, oh, this person's really nice, you should marry her so that she can come back to Australia and be our friend. And that was really flippant, because I'm going to have to marry this person. They're not in Sahaja Yoga anymore either. But I was going to do it when I was good and ready, and when I'd finished my studies and could actually, make a contribution and not be just a, be able to support my wife.
When it eventually did happen and you met your to-be wife for the first time, was it total surrender for you at the start, or did you have any doubts and struggles?
Well, No, I didn't. Like, there were two of the. I guess the process. I saw two of my friends get matched before, and they were kind of interesting personalities in themselves. But my wife didn't turn up, and I was matched to a girl from Allahabad who didn't turn up. And then someone else who had been matched, Maima, said, "Oh, you should call her, and you should tell her to get here and stuff like that." And I just thought, I'm not going to do any of that, just because the whole process is that I just do nothing and surrender if I'm taking that action. And then the leaders asked if I wanted to see her picture, and I said no, because I didn't want to have any attachment to it, whatever was not meant to happen. And they said, "Oh, should we put your name in again?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And then the next time it was announced, the person I was matched to didn't turn up again. And I think there was one more time before I arrived at the Pendle at about 7:30, 8 o'clock after meditating. It was Christmas Day, actually, which is nice. It's a bit like a present, if you like. And there were two girls there, and I was thinking, well, I'm going to marry one of them, because I was talking to Antonio. And then they introduced me to my wife, Madhuri, and I thought, I got the pretty one, so that made it easier, a lot easier. And what else happened? She seemed really nice, and the vibrations were good, and we were talking about stuff. I think I gave her a geography lesson, which she later told me was quite boring. And she was saying, "Oh, can you see the vibrations in the clouds?" And I looked up, all I could see were clouds. I thought, wow, she's deep. I just pretended I do. But she just meant the cirrus clouds, and I didn't know what she meant. And so there was nothing. I just said, "Oh, well, let's go get your wedding sari." She said, "Okay," and that was about it. That was that.
Seeing as you'd surrendered to Shimalaji and got married through the protocols, do you feel Shimalaji's presence through your marriage supporting you, encouraging you, and being there for both of you?
Oh, definitely. Marriage is difficult for anyone. So, to know that you're matched by the Adi Shakti gives you, one, no way out in terms of like when you're fighting and stuff, because you know that it was ordained by God. And then if you go back to your practices and meditate, it just refocuses you on what's important, and you feel the connection again. And yeah, that's very important, because we have a common purpose, that also is very important.
Now we're married, family, you're happy. When you look back on your spiritual journey, what advice would you give to people coming into Sahaja Yoga today about the lessons you've learned and the things that have helped you along the way?
Meditate. That's it. Every day. Meditate, foot soak, every day. Even if you don't feel like it. And listen to Shimalaji. I think there was some stuff around that when I was Yuva Shakti, we used to get kind of, not quite bulldozed, but like it said, go to one public program a week. Go to one collective meeting a week. Listen to at least one talk of Shimalaji's per week. And meditate and foot soak every day. If you do those things, it generally works. And if you can, live in an ashram. It's not always easy or not always fun, but then some of the things that develop you aren't easy or fun. But then the bigger fun comes.
Through your journey in Sahaja Yoga, you've been in Sahaja Yoga for many, many years. Have you ever had doubts about your role in Sahaja Yoga, about Shimalaji or about Sahaja Yoga?
At the beginning, I had some weird dreams about Shimalaji, but I just put them aside because it was just new, and it seemed like I worked it out for myself that it was kind of some negative thing. And then I had some other really potent experiences because I was so mental. Meditation took me a while to get. I had some visions, and they were really convincing because they were more real than anything I ever saw when I was awake, and they were all about Shimalaji. So if I ever feel any doubt, I know it's just external. I don't entertain it for too long, because there is no doubt, really. It's just my mind playing with me.
There are many people who may watch this interview who have never have a chance to see Shimataji in her Sakara form and can only relate to her in her Nirvakara form, but they'd like perhaps for you to share what was it like to be in the presence of God.
Oh, well, it varied. At first I found it difficult, because I was pretty new and I went along to Bandila at the scout camp, and then there was bhajans till late at night, Baba Mama going, the night is young, and keeping us up till 2, and it was all kind of overwhelming, and it didn't hit me till I got home when I went really thoughtless. But gee, it made everything seem much more alive. I mean, the thing that most people would compare it to in terms of experience was a drug trip, but where you're completely balanced, sane, normal, grounded, and better. So what's not to like about that? And sometimes it's difficult when Shimataji's around, because she can be exacting and demanding, and that's quite right as well. So what was it like? It just was better than just about anything, and then difficult too sometimes, especially like I only really got to speak to her about once or twice, and but because it was only a couple of times, I think it became more a central focus of something I really understood, something that I thought was really important for me to put into action. She told me, because Guy Jeffries insisted that I go up. I've been doing Sahaj for about 2 years, and all these new people, I thought they should go first. He said, no, you go on. You've never really, because I didn't really present myself or push myself forward. And so I went up, and she just, I remember staring at her shoes, because I thought they were really cute, and that they were handmade. And she looked at my hands and she goes, cool, and she looked at me like, good boy, like, really, what are you here for? And then she kind of looked a bit more, and she said, you must forgive like a mountain. Tell the birds in the trees that mother forgives you. And so I try and do that, and I really tried to put that into action recently, and it worked. I mean, I didn't really fully understand the words at the time, but I did kind of, but it's like there's understanding and there's really understanding, like when you put it into action and it actually works, that you forgive people, because like every time you forgive, it's a resurrection, it's a new chance for your friendship, for your love. No long-term relationships can survive without forgiveness. There's no hope for the world without forgiveness. And the idea that you're a mountain, they can't really hurt you. Nothing really hurts you. You just have to be that mountain.
As we come to the end of this interview, is there anything that you'd like to say that you haven't had a chance to say yet?
One specific thing. Just, you think of words to live by. And like Shimataji's words, my profession for so long as an English teacher has been about words, and that words can communicate so much, and words to live by. And Shimataji's words that always stick with me. There's so many of them, but then the central one, whatever you do should be done with the courage and zeal of a warrior, the sensitivity of an artist, and the faith of a prophet. And if you do those things, you can't but succeed.
Namaste. Well done. That's good.